The date was August 30th, 2022. It was a pleasantly warm 84-degree morning in sunny South Florida. Barry Jackson, the esteemed and highly honorable 35-year veteran covering Miami sports for the Herald, was taking a stroll down 601 Biscayne Boulevard, otherwise known as Dwayne Wade Boulevard. Of course, Dwayne Wade is the legend, nay, the icon, who carried the Miami Heat basketball franchise for nearly 2 decades. This is when a stroke of melancholy brushes over Barry Jackson. It consumes him as he's reminded about the horrific ending to the Miami Heat season just 3 months prior. The image of Jimmy raising up for a three-pointer on Al Horford etched into his soul. However, there was some hope to save the Miami Heat franchise, as it appears the Utah Jazz are shopping around their superstar guard, Donovan Mitchell. And with each day that passes, it appears the Miami Heat's chances grow of acquiring the alpha to pair alongside Butler. However, it would be of great cost, as the Miami Heat would likely have to part ways with a young lad who may have alpha potential himself, a spunky 22-year-old flamethrower by the name of Tyler Herro. Unsure how the Miami Heat should proceed, Barry Jackson takes out his phone and tweets, "After Knicks talks at a stalemate, Jazz is not seriously engaged on Mitchell trade with any team. Even if Utah took 3 first-rounders, Herro and Duncan Robinson in another cap facilitating piece, which they appear disinclined to do. Is that overpaying?" Now, that tweet resurfaced on Twitter yesterday, causing an absolute rain of fire.
Because you had this guy by the name of Shap33, who basically found that old tweet by Barry Jackson and quote tweeted it with that disgruntled, sick face emoji. And Barry Jackson replied to that, basically standing on business, as he said, "Still an overpay, Herro and 3 first." And that response by Barry is what really got all of the replies going. I mean, you can see this tweet got 59,000 views. And I know it only says 29 replies, but it's actually like 29 different threads under the comments, because each one of those replies started another argument, and Barry Jackson was really fighting for his life in those comments. Now, first off, I want to say that I definitely would trade Tyler Herro and 3 first-round picks for Spider. I would have did it back then too. Now, I remember in 2022, I was a little hesitant, when that initial Barry Jackson tweet came out. But as of last year, I was definitely on board. And I pulled up some receipts too. May 16th of last year, so basically a year ago, I put together this trade package where the Heat received Donovan Mitchell and the Cavs get Tyler Herro, Jaquez, and 3 first-round picks from Miami. And in the comment on the side, I said I would throw in Jovic too, no questions asked. I also responded to one of Royals' tweets saying, "If you think Donovan Mitchell is 3 first-round picks better than Tyler Herro, you are a sane individual with a brain. Not insane without a brain. You are sane with a brain." Of course, I was kind of mocking all the people in the comments who at the time didn't believe Tyler Herro was 3 first-round picks better, because I did. Now, most people actually did agree with me, because I did also find this poll I put out from May 20th of last year saying, is Donovan Mitchell 3 first-round picks better than Tyler Herro? And the overwhelming majority of the people did vote yes at 86.4%. Now, that's not to say that after this game on December 8th, 2024, so just 5 months ago, where the Heat did take down the Cavaliers and held Donovan Mitchell to 12 points while Tyler Herro had 34, that's not to say that in a moment of excitement and exuberance, I didn't say this. Donovan Mitchell is better than Tyler Herro, my ass. Tyler Herro tonight had 34 points, 6 rebounds, 7 assists, on 52% shooting, and 56%. That's an all-star. That's an all-NBA player. That's a first-team all-NBA player. Compare that to Donovan Mitchell, the guy that all the Heat fans wanted, including myself, but I'll be the first to tell you I was damn wrong. But I'm here to tell you today, on May 11th, 2025, that I was wrong about being wrong, because Donovan Mitchell is absolutely 3 first-round picks better than Tyler Herro. Now, to go back to this original thread, but first, it's telling me that 57.5% of y'all also think that you're better than Tyler Herro, which I promise you is not the case. So make sure to subscribe to the channel to fix that. Let's get back into the video. Between Barry Jackson and Shap, that kind of got everything started, I want to start off by saying that I do love Barry Jackson, and in general, I do agree with most of his takes. He's not one of those media members that just sunshine pumps the Miami Heat and says that they can do no wrong, because for a while now, he's been pretty adamant that this current team sucks and that major changes are needed. But it's still very clear that he either overvalues Tyler Herro or undervalues Donovan Mitchell. Because back in this thread, you had Shap with the original quote tweet with the emoji, Barry Jackson saying it's still an overpay, and then Shap responded saying, no way, you make that trade 10 times out of 10, Barry. Bam, Jimmy, and Mitchell was a title team core. And I absolutely agree with that. I do think the Heat would have had another championship had they been able to flip Tyler Herro for Donovan Mitchell. And Barry Jackson responds to that tweet saying, trade was never offered by Utah, which, okay, I do believe the Jazz probably didn't want Tyler Herro at the time, but Shap says exactly what I'm thinking in his response, which is, that's possible, but even today, you're saying that's an overpay. So what does it matter what the Jazz would have did or not did? Barry Jackson is sharing his opinion that he would have not traded Herro and 3 firsts for Donovan Mitchell. And Barry responds saying, correct, because you need to play chess, not checkers. You trade all your firsts with Wiggins and Kids for an all-star, not sacrifice all your firsts with your only good scorer for a better player who's great but has no history of leading a team to a title. Just my opinion, it's all asset management, nothing to do with who's the better player of the two. And to address the first part of Barry's tweet, let's say the Heat do trade the Kids and Wiggins and first-round picks for an all-star. You're going to have to pay that all-star. You already paid Bam, and then you're going to have to pay Tyler Herro because you're implying he's a part of this core. And in today's CBA, it's very difficult to win a championship if you're paying 3 players max or near max money, especially if they're not alphas. And I don't think that's what Tyler Herro is. And then for Barry Jackson to say in his tweet that Mitchell has no history of leading a team to a title, I think that's pretty stupid because 1, he's only like 28 years old. And 2, just because he hasn't won a title yet doesn't mean that he's not capable. I mean, every player in the 90s who didn't win a championship because Michael Jordan and my guy Hakeem Olajuwon was running things doesn't mean that they weren't capable of being alphas on a championship contender. Every guy in the 2010s in the Eastern Conference who couldn't make the NBA Finals because LeBron went every year for 10 years straight doesn't mean that they weren't capable of being alphas on title contending teams. But of course, that wasn't the only response by Barry. He did go on an absolute tirade. I'm talking dozens and dozens of responses, a lot of them basically saying the same thing. So I just took a few of his responses here so we can address them. In this tweet, he says, Mitchell is obviously the better player, but the gap is not so ridiculously enormous that it justifies 3 1s. 2 would be fine. Herro's still disrespected here and doesn't deserve it. He's a freaking all-star and the primary reason the Miami Heat made the playoffs. And it's like, okay, I want to give Barry some credit. He's obviously acknowledging that there is some sort of gap between Mitchell. I mean, 2 first-round picks to 3 first-round picks, what's really the difference there? So I don't think we're that far off. But to the second part of this tweet here, it's like, yeah, Tyler Herro was an all-star. It's probably my favorite moment of the season. I was super thrilled for him because I do love Tyler Herro, something I always have to say anytime I'm negative about him or critical because the Herro stands attack me thinking I don't like the man. I am a big Tyler Herro fan, but it seems like the whole all-star thing might have been a bit fluky, because as soon as he was announced, he basically had a month and a half where he couldn't hit a shot. And then that's exactly what we saw in the postseason too. And as the old saying is, playoffs tell. And we'll get into those numbers a little bit later. But if you just want to talk about guys who were freaking all-stars, I give you Jeff Teague. I give you Kyle Korver. There's a bunch of guys that you could say were just all-stars. And yes, Herro was a big reason the Heat made the playoffs, I suppose. But let's not forget they were a 10th seed. So, Tyler Herro was the reason the Miami Heat were a 10th seed. That's what you're saying. And yeah, he had a couple of good playoff games. That's true as well, but he didn't do it himself. I mean, the Miami Heat were literally saved by Davion Mitchell in overtime in the final playing games. So I don't think this tweet by Barry makes Tyler Herro look all that impressive. And in another response, Barry says, waiting for Donovan Mitchell to win anything meaningful, respectfully, admirable guy and great player. And that goes back to what I was saying earlier. Just because you haven't won a championship doesn't mean you can't be the guy on a championship team. Because I would love to ask Barry Jackson, hey, do you think Jimmy Butler in his prime could have been the guy on a championship team? Because I bet Barry would say yes. And I would say yes too. But guess how many rings Jimmy Butler has? As many as me, which is none. But I still believe that Jimmy Butler is certainly capable. It's just very clearly the rosters around him wasn't great enough. And in another response, Barry says, Herro helped a Butler-led team get to the finals in 2020, still waiting on Donovan Mitchell. And it's like, that's a dumb tweet because you just said Herro helped a Butler-led team. And then you're comparing him to Donovan Mitchell, who was always the star on his teams. They were Donovan Mitchell-led teams. So you're comparing apples to oranges there, and it really doesn't make a lot of sense to me. And then following that up, Barry says, one hasn't won a damn thing, and the other was a key part on an NBA Finals team in the bubble. And it's like, how many times are you going to go back to Tyler Herro's rookie season? You're supposed to get better in the playoffs as your career progresses, not worse. As a rookie, the opposing defenses aren't really expecting a lot from you. The opposing coaches aren't necessarily game planning against you or scheming against you, so you can catch some guys by surprise. But as soon as you're on that scouting report and guys are able to take away your strengths and push you into your weaknesses, that's when you see who a guy really is, and that's why playoffs tell. I don't care what Tyler Herro did as a rookie. Look what he did every single season since that. Because Barry Jackson, yeah, he mentions that great bubble run in 2020, but he fails to mention in 2022 how the Heat were one shot away from another NBA Finals, and Tyler Herro was hurt for that postseason. He was hurt in that Eastern Conference Finals. And then Barry Jackson also fails to mention that in 2023, when the Heat actually did make the Finals, Tyler Herro played a half. He broke his hand in the first game of the playoffs, and that Heat team still went on to go to the NBA Finals. So I would say that kind of discredits what Herro did in 2020 because they got to the finals with him and without him. And then you go to 2024, Jimmy Butler gets hurt in the play-in game because Kelly Oubre did a flying head kick on him. And then that team got their ass kicked in the first round by the Celtics when Herro was the guy. And then you go to this postseason in 2025 where Herro is definitively the guy, and you had the biggest blowout in NBA playoffs history for an entire series, which all culminated to a 55-point loss in an elimination game at home where Tyler Herro dropped 4 points. So Barry Jackson keep bringing up 2020 is honestly completely pointless. And in another response, Barry says, oh, Tyler Herro was 17th in the league in scoring, top 40 in three-point percentage, good contract for 2 more years, but this has nothing to do with who's the better player. This is about asset management. You trade your first and one of your 2 all-stars for a player like Giannis or Luka Doncic. And it's like, last time I checked, Luka Doncic hasn't proven that he can win a title on a championship team. So you would do all that stuff for Luka, who there is a lot of questions about now. You're seeing questions about his health, his weight, his fitness, his defense, but you would do it for Luka, but you wouldn't do it for Donovan Mitchell, who there's quite literally no questions about his game whatsoever. And then, yeah, Tyler Herro is not on a super bad contract right now because he signed it a few years ago and the CBA is about to go up a ton. But what's going to happen when he's up for his extension in October? Okay, Pat Riley and Tyler Herro said that they won't do the extension this year. They'll wait till next year. But fast forward to next year, we're going to have the same problem. I mean, Tyler Herro is going to command a max, and he's not going to be worth it unless he proves himself in the playoffs, which he's never done. Someone named Nick responds to Barry and says, I like Herro, but we won 37 games. Come on, man. And Barry Jackson says, how about blaming the roster instead? And it's like, is Tyler Herro not the guy on the roster in addition to Bam Adebayo? I don't mean to let Bam skate in any of this because he didn't have a super great season either. But Tyler Herro is the guy, the offensive guy. If you only won 37 games, that is representative of him. Because look at Donovan Mitchell. As a rookie, he carried a terrible Utah Jazz team to 5th in the West. And in all of his years in Utah, he never finished worse than 6th. That means if they had the play-in the whole time, his teams would have never been a play-in team. Never. Because they were always better than that because of Donovan Mitchell. Not to mention that he's led 2 number 1 seeds in his entire career. Once with Utah, once with Cleveland. We saw a Tyler Herro-led team this season. They won 37 games. They were the 10 seed. Okay, you had Jimmy Butler for the first half of the year. You traded him in February. What happened the second half of the season? A 10-game losing streak. Tyler Herro said, oh, we got clarity now. Yeah, what did that clarity lead to? Oh, that's right, 10 straight losses. And then 6 straight wins. And then 2 straight play-in wins. And then 4 straight losses in the postseason when it really matters. And Barry Jackson ends his Twitter tirade by saying, you can You can all yell and scream, but I'm not changing my mind. I only trade my all-star scorer and tradable draft inventory for a select few like Giannis and Doncic. How about we see if Mitchell can win anything ever now that he's playing with 3 all-stars? Now, to some extent, it's a fair point because there really is no excuses for Mitchell anymore because his roster is stacked, although they're down 2-1 in their series right now versus the Pacers. But they had some injuries to start, no Mobley, no Garland. And obviously, once those guys got back, they had a blowout win in Game 3. But it's a little bit fair, but my original point still stands. Just because a guy hasn't won a championship doesn't mean he's not capable. You have to actually watch the product on the court. And if you're watching Donovan Mitchell, you can see that he is not only a superstar, but a playoff riser, which is the opposite of Tyler Herro. If you look at Tyler Herro's regular season numbers for his career, he's at 19 points per game, about 45% from the field, and 38% from 3. Compare that to the postseason, he's at about 14 points per game. That's like a 5-point drop-off from regular season to postseason. And his efficiency's decreased quite a bit as well. His regular season efficiency, 45%. His postseason efficiency, 41%. It's not that good. And then his three-point efficiency, that takes the biggest drop-off of them all. 38% in the regular season to 33%. That's a 5 percentage decrease in three-point percentage for Tyler Herro from regular season to postseason. Compare that to Donovan Mitchell, who he's at 25 points per game in the regular season, right? But get this with the efficiency. 45% from the field, 36% from 3. Where in the postseason, he's at 44% from the field, 36% from 3. Virtually the same exact efficiencies, which shows consistency. The difference, though, is he's at 28, almost 29 points per game in the postseason. That's a 5-point increase from regular season to postseason. You know how difficult that is to increase your PPG by that much while keeping the same efficiencies? That's the sign of a superstar. There's levels to this. And if you want to go just based off this postseason, Donovan Mitchell's averaging 31 points per game. Tyler Herro's averaging about 17 to 18. If you're watching this video, then you are an elite ball knower, so why not take advantage of it with MyBookie? Listen, y'all, throughout the NBA playoffs, I'll be using their live betting feature to smash the Davion Mitchell overs and smash the Rudy Gobert unders, and then using their early cash out option to stack up the profits. If you want to do the same, make sure to sign up for MyBookie using promo code MM50, which will instantly boost your first deposit. And then once the games wrap up, you can check out their casino, which has blackjack and slots and roulette, you name it. Bet on anything, anytime, anywhere, only with MyBookie. Now let's get back into the video. Mitchell's literally averaging almost twice as many points than Tyler Herro. You're telling me that's not 3 first-round picks better? I think it is. And actually, throughout Barry's entire Twitter tirade and this video, we have yet to mention the defensive aspect of all of this, which, keep in mind, defense is 50% of the game. We saw Tyler Herro get absolutely hunted in every single game by the Cavaliers. Compare that to Donovan Mitchell, who to start his career, he really wasn't a great defender. He's not super tall, doesn't have a long wingspan. He has a decent weight to him, but his aggressiveness and his quickness, his lateral movement is so pristine. And he truthfully, he's got that dog in him. He is the definition of a competitor. And I really love what he does out there on the defensive side of things. He really hounds guys, and he's able to use his athleticism to be, honestly, a great point of attack defender. He really is. So it's literally, you have Tyler Herro, the turnstile, gets hunted. Donovan Mitchell looks like an absolute dog out there. So for all the reasons we stated in this video, I honestly believe that Donovan Mitchell is 3 first-round picks better than Tyler Herro. And I absolutely believe the Heat would have another NBA championship had them been able to get him. But that's really all I got to say for this video. Let me know all y'all thoughts down in the comments below. I'm very curious to hear what y'all think. Once again, no shade to Tyler. He's a great player. I was thrilled he made the All-Star team this year. But there's levels to this. And I just hope Pat Riley kind of realizes that if a whale does become available this offseason and it's going to cost Tyler Herro, it's something he might want to consider doing, of course, depending who the whale is. But make sure to like the video and subscribe. I'm on the grind to hit 8K subs. All the support is greatly appreciated. And I'll see y'all in the next one. Peace out.
Look, pull up in your city trying to get that dead face. Do it on my own, I don't need no dead weight. Had to kill him off, yeah, I need a head space. You know this homegrown bitch don't offend me.